be though? I mean, if all of your data is in Redshift, you can't really just dump that onto Azure all of a sudden.
Well, the Redshift, you mean like Red Hat?
No.
I mean, yeah, they're a competitor of AWS's. So, at this point, it has to do with, in my opinion, it has to do with who the incumbents are. Whether it be Red Hat or whether it be AWS is a big account there, or they self declare themselves a huge Microsoft shop, Microsoft first if possible, and go to Azure. And then so there's that, and then there's also the politics. There's a land grab struggle for where data should be, housed, if you will, what platform, and then there's also just the effectiveness of the salespeople in those accounts. And for each, unfortunately, every workload or application is treated like a separate project and a separate evaluation. And then, whoever wins that, wins that. And so all these companies, they've got a myriad of solutions for, as a service or cloud. And it's going to get, if it's not already, it's going to get very unmanageable. So the idea of the cloud supposedly is to simplify things, but now you're going to have all these different panes of glass and all these different bills and all these different platforms to manage and all these different skill sets of people that you need to manage everything. And that's not a good strategy from my perspective. And I think CIO is starting to get that.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is going to be the last, the cloud vendors left standing? It sounds like maybe the Microsoft shops or Office 365 is going to stay with Microsoft, and everything else is probably going to go to AWS.
Yeah, I mean, I think Azure, the market's growing so fast. I mean, I think Azure is going to be a close second, not even a close second, but a second player. I mean, they're going to take number two, and I think, I don't know what the stats are right now, but I have to imagine that AWS has got 3x the market share, maybe 4x the market share, and I think that trend's going to continue. I mean, AWS is they've won, and, other players that are trying to get in that space like Hitachi, that are modernizing, transforming, they're just a little too late to the game, and the engine is just, it's running so smooth over AWS, and they're going to get the lion's share. I mean, the market's a $72 billion market, and they're going to get the lion's share of that. I don't know the exact market share numbers. I'm sure you guys could research that.
Yeah, I think AWS has about half the market share.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah.
A little under half, maybe, and then Azure has like 15-20%.
15 exactly. 15%. I was going to say. I think I think AWS could get up to 60 or 70, and Azure might top out at 20-25%. Well, that would be too much. Maybe 20%, maybe 65 AWS in the next 3 or 4 years, and then 10. Everybody else is going to split 10% or so.
Yeah. What about? I'm curious. You said the Lightning platform at Salesforce, or the Force.com platform, is just killing it.
Yes.
Is that? I mean, who does that compete with? It seems like they don't really compete with anybody.
They don't compete with anybody for that Mode 2 app dev, rapid app, object-based rapid app dev. There are a lot of customers, in fact, that aren't really as interested in the CRM aspect of Salesforce, but have adapted Force.com as their app dev platform, and they have repurposed their custom and legacy apps and rebuilt them on Salesforce, Force.com, and a lot of that is time to value. The amount of time it takes to there's when you're building your own applications or using, certain coding, even .NET, there's a certain amount of coding you have to do, and you probably decrease that by like 70-80% with object-based app dev. And so, yes, from that perspective, Salesforce is, just selling, hundreds of millions of dollars of access to it, and it's super expensive actually.